With Rust Console Edition finally being launched, there are a ton of new players wondering where they can get the best loot, preferably without the risk of being brutally killed by a huge group of unfriendly players. Whilst nowhere in Rust is completely safe, I'm going to tell you today why I think Dome is one of the best places to get scrap and loot, especially for solo players, and I'll also give you some tips on some sneaky ways up and down my favorite monument. Hey everybody, my name's Ben, we are the Beard Guys, and welcome back to another Rust Console Tips video. We've got loads of guides on Rust Console up on YouTube with plenty more planned, so if you want to stay up to date with all things Rust Console Edition, then make sure you drop a sub if you enjoyed today's video. So whilst you watch me make my way up the standard route to the top of the dome, let's talk about why it's such a good monument to hit. When completely unlooted, the dome offers 6 standard loot crates as well as 4 green military crates right up on top of it. You can expect these crates to respawn every 20 to 30 minutes depending on how populated the server is. The green crates on top can contain scrap, high tier components like tech trash, stacks of 20 or so high quality metal, as well as a huge variety of other loot such as guns, turrets, air supply signals, and a ton of other useful stuff. It requires no keycard or fuses to access it, and you only need 10% radiation protection to completely block any rad effect. This can be gained from just a couple of pieces of wooden armor or often just a pair of found clothing items. Check the radiation protection stat in your inventory and you'll find it pretty easy to get yourself the required level of resistance. When compared to the launch site monument, whilst Dome does have less loot and doesn't have the top tier elite crates, it does carry a lot less risk and lends itself well to quick runs as a solo player. Whilst I enjoy hitting launch and you get great stuff, in order to attempt it, you need 2 different keycards, you have to avoid a tank, you have to constantly spam meds in order not to die of radiation, and you have to watch out for the high chance of bumping into groups of enemy players. Dome tends to be much more quiet unless you are unlucky and have some dedicated Dome runners who play at the same times as you. But even still, people often only tend to run it as a solo or a duo at a push. As well as this, you can usually hear if somebody is already in the dome when you arrive, allowing you to either get the hell out of there or wait for them to come down and kindly bring you the loot. Conversely, if you're already looting dome yourself, it's easy to hear people coming in the entrance, and it lends itself well to setting up a trap for approaching enemies, and also has multiple routes of extraction if you don't want the fight. So now you've seen the standard way up to the top, I'll show you a nice alternative sneaky route. If you are heading up to the dome and somebody is camping the top waiting for you, there is an alternative to tackling them head on. When you get to the exterior pipe traverse section here, if you spin around halfway across and jump onto this angled pipe, you can follow it all the way around until you eventually gain access directly to the roof. Careful going up the incline as it tends to try and shove you off the edge a bit, but the flat bit isn't too bad unless someone tries to shoot you. This will bring you up on the opposite side of the roof to where most enemies would expect you to appear, so if you can remain quiet, you can pull off a very sneaky flanking move. It's not really worth doing on a normal loot run if there's nobody there because you'll have to go back down to loot a couple of the standard crates, but it is a great way to try and flank an enemy who's holding the top of the dome. So now you've seen a couple of ways up, it's time to show you how to get down. Other than jumping off the side and getting your teammate to revive you, there are a few more sensible options that work, and this one is my usual route, which gives a nice trade-off of speed and safety. When you get to this gantry, sprint off of the end onto the pipe. Don't jump or walk, just sprint off the end and you'll land on it. Then drop down and slide down the side onto the next ledge and make your way out. This route is great for sneaking around enemies if they've arrived after you, as you can wait up on the gantry and spy on them until they go into the exterior section of the dome on their way up, and then you can happily sneak out without having to go past them. It'll also be difficult for them to get back down and chase you quickly, as they'll be halfway up the side of the dome. The second way down that I like to use involves going down the side from the roof where the ladder is and making your way to the pipe we snuck up on earlier on. You can follow this pipe along until you drop down safely a couple of times, eventually making your way down onto this small tower next to the dome. This route is really handy if you're worried that someone is camping the dome entrance waiting for you, as it's the only route that completely bypasses that and will allow you to easily sneak away. The final route down is the fastest and also the most dangerous. I've tried it numerous times and honestly I've probably died 50% of those times, and the other attempts I've lost half or more of my health. But if you want to give it a crack, then be my guest. Find the two large pipes on the roof and follow them to where they run down the side of the dome. The general idea here is to crouch and walk backwards into the gap in between the pipes to slow yourself down as you fall, and I've managed this a couple of times, but I've probably had more luck facing forwards into the gap and walking forward while crouching. I find it pretty unreliable, but if you can master this technique without taking any damage, then it's definitely a winner. But for me, unless I can master it, then it's not going to be worth the risk. It brings you down right at the entrance where other players would arrive at, and if you muck it up and you lose a bit of health or you die, then there's a high chance that players could just be right there and grab your stuff or finish you off while you're on low HP. So that's everything for my dome guide today. It's a monument I've run dozens of times since first playing the game during early access, and honestly, the vast majority of those times I've gotten away with it without having to fight or even evade enemy players. It's a fantastic way to keep stocked up on scrap, high quality metal, and rare components, as well as building your library of weapons and building items that you might want to blueprint. Hopefully you found today's video useful. If you did, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel for loads more Rust console content, and also let me know in the comments what you need help with in Rust, and maybe I can use those ideas for the next video. So thanks very much for watching. My name's Ben, we are the Beard Guys, and I'll see you next time.